Good afternoon and welcome to our HR Business Services Committee. Today is Monday, March 10th, 2025, and we're getting started at about 4:34 today. So we're going to start with our Human Resources Department Summary Report. In February, HR partnered with the Duluth Federation of Teachers leadership to hold a Q&A session for displaced teachers. On February 13th, HR leadership attended the Public Employee Labor Relations Association annual winter conference. Topics presented were focused primarily on the upcoming Minnesota paid leave and using artificial intelligence in public sector HR and labor relations. On February 26th, members of the HR team participated as interview panelists for high school seniors at the Imagine It job seeking experience at ESCO High School. The seniors interviewed were interested in pursuing careers in early childhood and elementary education. And then negotiations with the Dewey Group have been completed, and we're hopeful to have a final approved contract for the board in March. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who worked on this contract. I know it's been ongoing, so it's nice to see that it's wrapping up. Some things that folks are going to be working on in March. March is the start of a very busy job fair schedule for the HR team. So they're currently signed up for fairs at Fond du Lac Tribal and Community College, Lake Superior College, the Minnesota Education Career Expo in Eden Prairie, and the St. Cloud State University Job Fair, Virginia Jet Job Fair, Black Bear Job Fair, and the Easton Denfeld High Collaborative Job Fairs. So that is a lot of job fairs, and we really appreciate our HR team's work on that. So I know hiring is just challenging all around, so I really appreciate the extra effort to get out to those. Some upcoming changes and improvements to the department. A draft recruitment and retention plan is being finalized. This plan is crucial for ensuring we can attract and retain high-quality staff to ensure consistent and effective instruction and support our students. And I just wanted to share with our fellow board members, Williams and Banks, that I had sent a follow-up to HR Director Severance about this recruitment and retention plan. And one of the questions that I had is just, can you tell me how hiring and retaining BIPOC, LGBTQ, and other minority communities are being kind of prioritized in the plan? And if you'd like, I can share her response. Yes, please. Okay. Her response, I won't read it word for word, but in general, it outlines several key strategies addressing hiring and retention of BIPOC, LGBTQ+, and other minority communities. We will advertise widely, including on platforms and with organizations that serve diverse communities. Partnerships, we will collaborate with tribal bands, community organizations, and educational institutions to identify potential candidates. And for culturally responsive practices, we will use inclusive language in job descriptions, train hiring managers on cultural competency, and include diverse community members in interview committees. And for retention, for the supportive environment, we will offer mentorship, professional development, and resources to support the success and well-being of employees. And then as far as data-driven approach to retention, we will track key metrics to identify areas for improvement and ensure equitable outcomes. And so that was a couple of the ideas that she had. She also said that she recognizes when Member Banks mentions some of the specific ideas at our committee of the whole, and some other ideas were also brought to EAC, apparently. And so she said she's happy to incorporate more specifically targeted language as we work through the finalizing of the draft. Any suggestions are certainly welcomed. Any other follow-up questions or comments on that? The recruitment plan?
I have questions regarding job fairs, so I don't know if anybody's here that can answer those questions right now, but I'm curious who tables at job fairs and what exactly that looks like. Is it, Officer Wellens and like, yeah, who's at job fairs and what happens?
It varies. So it's usually the HR department and team, so maybe staff from the HR department. Sometimes it's also Executive Director Severance, who's also there doing tabling. That looks like, for example, at the Juneteenth event, there will be tables set up with signage, that shows our school district, and it will, have documents available for hiring and, letting individuals know that we are engaging in hiring and what positions are available. So that's what we mean when we say tabling at events.
When you say documents, though, you mean like written up job descriptions that like they can take away? Are there paper applications? Like what kinds of, or is there?
Not always the paper applications, but it would be information sharing which jobs are available.
Okay.
It would be information on the application process. It would be opportunities for the HR team to collect information on potential candidates. And so they end up asking for information from, prospective candidates, so then they can do a follow-up with candidates. So that's what the tabling looks like.
Do they collect resumes when they are at job
Not that I'm
fairs?
aware of at this point in time. And again, I would love for the HR department to go
Yeah.
into greater detail, because they are the closest to it.
Right.
I can share what I know I've seen and observed, but I would definitely prefer to have them share all of the details and information that they do provide and collect.
And then I guess, obviously, she's not here to answer the question, but just a thought, if it's not happening. Are Chromebooks provided, like if somebody wanted to apply for a job on the spot? Just thinking of equity, like I know that we apply online. And so if somebody goes to a job fair and they're like, I know this is open, I don't have internet at home, or I really want to apply for this, like, do we provide those opportunities at job fairs?
I know those are things that have been under discussion, and I think attempts have been made to do that, especially depending on the job fair that we are hosting. For example, I know that there are some special targeting efforts for like bus drivers, and then there might be opportunities to assist potential applicants with filling out their applications and information. But I don't want to misspeak.
Yeah.
Again, the great ideas, and I believe some of those things have happened. I just don't want to misspeak on the extent of them.
Okay, thank you.
Will you have her email the whole committee here
Absolutely.
with those? Thank you.
Thank you.
Member Banks?
I wasn't going to ask the question, but because you're taking notes, I think I'll go ahead and ask. What does it look like for the HR plan in light of what's going on nationally and at the state level with regard to those communities that Member Sadowski mentioned? Is that going to be a potential problem for the plan? Having specific information in the plan that identifies persons of color and other marginalized communities as priority? Is that a potential for pushback? And I'm just wondering if that's not an issue, or if it is an issue that may be present.
I don't believe it would be an issue. I believe there might be others who may express concerns about what they might perceive, especially given what's happening locally and nationally with regards to DEI efforts. I'm sure there will be some who might express concerns, but as a district, we have affirmed that we are committed to advancing equity and to developing strategies to diversify our staff. And so I don't think it's going to be a problem by those internally. And some of these plans are meant for internal consumption as well, right? So there are things that we publicly discuss and have plans that we share, but then we also have our own internal planning documents for certain things. And so it just depends on where we share that information and place them. And I believe there might be concerns by some, but I don't think we as a district are crossing any boundaries legally or ethically with regards to focus efforts for diversification of our staff.
Great, thank you. And then just the last bullet point on the HR resources report. The HR team, along with district leadership and principals, decided to move to a new system to conduct employee evaluations. So starting next year, most staff evaluations will be completed using the Vector Evaluation Plus system, and this will allow for job-specific evaluations for all employees and supervisors. So if there's no remaining questions on this, we can move on to our business services report, starting with the enrollment report. Well, I guess you can see there's a staffing report too, goes over our, certified appointments, leaves, resignations, and retirements, and open positions as well. So we will move on to our enrollment report. If you look at page 5, you will see that our year-to-date, we are at 44.99 in the positive. And so for this school year, just as a reminder, we budgeted 8,068 students for our ADM. And when we get to our budget, you'll see that we're revising it to add 32 ADM, bringing it up to 8,100 ADM. Which will add funding to our line item there. We set our budget in June, and then often don't have all the information. It's hard to make all these predictions, and so normally we do a budget revision about this time of year. Anything to add, Finance Director?
Thank you very much. You said all that absolutely correctly. And also, I checked on our website today, and under budgeting, this process is listed there as well. In June, the school board adopts the next year's budget, and it says that any revisions or looking at revenues or expenditures is done in March. So it's also on our website.
Yeah, and that makes sense, and it's pretty common it's just normal practice for school districts, and it's also very common, I know, in the nonprofit world as well, depending on what happens, so. If there are no questions on that report, we'll move on to our child nutrition report, which is on page 9. Right now, folks are planning menus for next year and purchasing commodity food products from the USDA. Some upcoming changes and improvements. They're working on health department requirements to bring meals to the ALC students. And I just wanted to say thank you to our student school board reps and my school board colleagues for the very thoughtful conversation. I think it was at our last school board meeting when we had the student reports that kind of led to some discussion about our meals at the ALC. And thanks to staff for kind of working to address some of those concerns. Staffing report for the child nutrition is that moving a currently vacant job from Lowell to Myers-Wilkins in anticipation of more students next year at Myers. And then our meal count is kind of on the next page there. So the average meals and snacks, or total meals and snacks, I should say, for the year so far is 851,447. So lots of meals and snacks being provided to our students. Any question on the nutrition report? Okay. We'll move on to the facilities report. So over the February break, basically there was a lot of deep cleaning, if I were to shorten it, a lot of deep cleaning and organizing happening. So district building operations staff executed a widespread plan encompassing a wide range of essential tasks across the district, like preventative maintenance checks and repairs were prioritized, alongside the replacement of numerous light bulbs, fan filters, ensuring optimal building functionality, equipment repairs were addressed, intensive cleaning efforts, that sort of thing. So we really appreciate, while our students were on break, there were a lot of staff working hard to make sure that the buildings were cleaned. And then also just given some of the illnesses that we've been facing, it's just nice to have an opportunity to deep clean this time of year. Right now, they're working on organizing, they organize storage spaces, consolidating and discarding old broken furniture, conducting a thorough inventory and organization of just different cleaning supplies and products, all the things we probably take for granted and don't see but are so important. So maintain safe building access, keeping sidewalks clear of snow and ice, provide comprehensive training to employees, upheld consistent cleaning standards throughout all the facilities, identified a shortage of student desks, encountering aging desks and making sure that we're taking that inventory and ordering new ones where we need to. And down at the bottom, there's a staffing report. It says we're successfully filling custodian openings, but continuing to face challenges in recruiting and filling licensed engineer positions. So hopefully some of those job fairs will help out with the facilities staff. Any questions on the facility report? Okay. If not, we'll move on to the technology report. Actually, so there's a safety report in here that's not on the agenda here. So I can kind of review that quickly too, which I had read through, but it just wasn't on my agenda. So we have a safety report starting on page 12. It says February was a quiet month in regards to safety updates. The annual staff safety survey was sent out, and some routine chemical pickups were completed. So those were the minutes. You can also see that there were several audits and inspections. There was a Safe at Work anonymous survey that was sent out. So far, there's 491 responses, and it's still open. And then there were some fire inspections, some automotive lifts checked out at Denfeld, which is always good to see. Some additional asbestos. They're obtaining quotes for asbestos down at the First Street building for asbestos identification. And then it looks like they did some dust testing at the East High School wood shop. And then if you keep going down, there was some trainings that happened, chemical and hazardous waste disposal. We see that every month. And some document updates. So going through some procedures and policies. Any questions on the safety report? Okay. Then we will move on to our technology report. So right now, the technology department continues to work on providing a safe and stable environment for our staff, students, and community. Right now, we're working on monitoring the current Chromebook inventory. The inventory is aging, and soon conversations will be needed to talk about future use. And then we will continue to monitor systems for efficiencies, making changes to keep up with dynamic use. And I just wanted to take a minute and kind of think about our Chromebooks. And as a parent, I'm very thankful that our district has been able to provide those Chromebooks to my family, but also, just in general to all students. Obviously, as a school board member, that's really important to make sure that our students are having that opportunity to learn with 21st century technology. And when the pandemic hit, we were delivering paper packets, I understand. Shortly thereafter, we used our ESSER COVID dollars to purchase these Chromebooks. And now we've had 2 referendums for technology that have not passed. And now we're in a kind of, we're in a situation that's really tough. Obviously, we're facing more budget cuts than we wanted to face, in part because of that. And we're gonna need to figure out how to make sure that we can provide ongoing Chromebooks for our students. Because going back to paper is not an ideal situation to make sure that our students are prepared for college or the trades or even a job in the community. I know so many young people who maybe got jobs in the community and, businesses use basically, a cash register is a computer. They use so much technology. It's really important that we make sure we equip our students. So I just had to say that, and sorry to go on and on, but This is really important, and I appreciate all the work that our technology staff is doing on our Chromebooks to make them last. Assistant Superintendent?
Thank you, and I appreciate those comments because we've made a significant investment, and as you have shared, we have significant needs ongoing that we don't have resources for. So not just the Chromebooks themselves, but other instructional devices that our teachers use, such as display monitors, smart boards in the classroom, other technology is also really important that we don't have adequate resources for. And even if we go back to the devices themselves, teachers use them in meaningful ways with regards to instruction. A lot of our curriculum is online and is in a digital format, so having a device that is robust enough to support adequate usage in the classroom is important, especially as we think about college and career readiness. We need to make sure our kids and our students are ready for the future. And as the community may be aware, last week there was a big announcement related to the Duluth Promise, how we are working with our community partners to provide opportunities for our kids. And those students will need technology skills that are deep and useful. And so we have to make sure that as a district, if we want to be truly the district of choice, we have to have proper equipment in all its forms, including devices and the staff necessary to meet the needs. So I really appreciate those comments because we're going to have to find resources and continue to make significant investments in technology.
Member Williams?
I guess along those lines, I understand devices and things, but talking about the changes and improvements, are we able to make the adequate upgrades that are necessary for the network and for cybersecurity? I know that was a big concern with the referendum and with it not passing. I am curious about that. Sorry to make you walk all the way up here, Mr. Graves.
That's okay. I'm Peter Graves. I'm the technology manager, also the educational technology coordinator. So your question was towards the security that we can maintain and there's another part to it.
To stabilize the network, it says on here, equipment needed to stabilize the network. If we could
Yep.
adequately do that.
Yep, this spring, we're taking efforts we're upgrading the equipment that we have to make sure the network is more stable. We've had some run-ins over probably the fall, over the summer, and then over the fall. These improvements should stabilize that. And that's, you have to have the internals running before the externals, and so we're trying to get the internals done so that we'll be available, or we'll have the ability to run the things off of it. So we're making those improvements, I believe, this spring, and they should help.
Any other questions? No? Okay, and thank you for that question, Member Williams. So I think we've covered our technology report then. But yep, technology is very important, and we'll continue to look for ways to support it as much as we can. Moving on to our transportation report. Basically, very similar to last month, limited staffing, but they're still doing all that they can to maintain daily student transportation services. And they're actively looking at just improving processes kind of ongoing. They're also looking at working to improve systems on the back end, just to improve time management and that sort of thing. And they're applying the principles of trust, teamwork, and professionalism from our recent workplace training. Staff members have been fostering a positive and community-oriented environment through initiatives such as group meals and holiday decorations in common areas. So that's nice to hear too, because it's just nice to have a positive, supportive work environment overall. And that'll just go a long way to recruit and retain staff. Still running at about the 14% absenteeism, which, as we talked about last month, is very similar to what other companies such as Voyager face. Member Banks?
Yeah, thank you. So I was going to ask about the 14%. Is that standard across the state, that number for absenteeism? And second, three questions, actually. The second question, when I looked at this, the nearly 100,000 miles per month, and they're looking to decrease that to half of that. I'd like to know how they plan to do that, or is there some kind of strategy that they could present to us to just show us how they're going to do that? And then, is there some kind of way for ISD 709 to incentivize some of this, some of these concerns we're having with absenteeism? I know people get sick, I understand that, but is there some kind of way to put some kind of incentive out there so that we are getting our drivers in the seats to transport our children? And because that 14% to me seems kind of high.
Thank you. I can't just say exactly what the percentages are for other companies, but I know our transportation manager he talks to fellow operators, and yes, they're all in the same boat. And as far as, and I want to say too, our other department, like food service, we have many departments, but food service doesn't have to drive a vehicle, so it's like really apparent when it happens in transportation, right? And as far as incentivizing, I've had that conversation with the superintendent, assistant superintendent, and the transportation manager. That will be something we'll need to discuss because it'll have to be outside of the contract. So, you know, our contracts are settled, and you know, that would have to be a conversation. But I know it's been brought up, okay? And as far as, are you referring to as far as the reduction of a FTE in transportation as how we're going to, we've always had 2 routers, not 3, and we need drivers, okay? And our routers have really been stepping up to the plate and doing a lot of driving. We interviewed a driver today. There's another one tomorrow. And then there's a 3rd vacancy posted on our website and a bus helper. So we are actively working on trying to get new staff in. And I personally called the Voyager team, and they are in the same situation. So all we can do is keep actively seeking help. We need drivers. So if you know of anybody, we'd appreciate it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your questions, Member Banks. Any other questions? Okay, then we're going to move on. So our recommended resolution is for the acceptance of donations to Duluth Public Schools, and you can find that on page 16 and 17. So you'll see just a number of very generous community members giving donations for a variety of things. So we're very appreciative to our community for these donations. So then we'll move on to the consent agenda, and we will look at our financial report, which starts on page 20. And there's a few things that I wanted to point out here, and I will let our finance director jump in if she wants to as well. But, you know, when we were looking at our enrollment report, I mentioned that we're going to be increasing our ADM, and it's reflected on here. On the second line, you'll see where it says revised revenue plus 32 ADM adjustment. And if you go follow it over, that's 288,000. So basically that's 32 students times the 9,000 to get that. On the first line, you'll see that we have some revised revenue from special education. That's a similar situation to our ADM. It's just really hard to make those predictions in the spring. We do the best that we can with kind of our previous year data, and then we make those adjustments this time of year. So you'll see that on there. And then you'll see the third line down, revised revenue for St. Louis County. And that was that TIF money that was used for the DTA bus passes. So we have that funding, and now it's time to make sure that it's reflected on our financial report. So we're adding it on there to kind of make that adjustment. And then if you go down to the expenses, you'll see where it says revised expenditure reduction estimate only. That's that $2.6 million that we cut, and we're going, it's an estimate, but it's going to be really probably pretty close to that. It's something that we've obviously been talking about quite a bit, and it's just time to make sure that that's also reflected in our budget. So this is kind of part of that budget revision. Any follow-up information or comments?
You did a great job.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, to your point with the estimates for the expenditures, we have great best guess. I anticipate our benefit numbers coming in lower than anticipated or budgeted for last June. And we will continue, it's ongoing to get to our target of the 2.6 million. And you said everything correctly for the revised revenue. Thank you.
Perfect. Any questions about our financial report?
Chair, I would just like to, again, I appreciate you sharing, and I want to highlight again the receiving of those TIF dollars. That has been one of the things that we've been trying to communicate to our community and staff, especially as it relates to the funding that, the use of those funds for the DTA partnership agreement. So just want to highlight again, it's because we received those dollars, unanticipated dollars, that we made a strategic decision to leverage those dollars to support our students. We just had a conversation related to challenges with transportation, right? So we also know as a district, we have an attendance campaign. We're trying to get kids to school. So we, as a district, made a strategic decision to support our attendance campaign, as well as to make sure students have opportunities to get to school, as well as participate in before and after school. And it also provided opportunities for students to not only have reliable transportation on the weekends, but also in the summer. So students we know who may want to participate in summer school programming, to do credit recovery. This also provides that additional added transportation support to get those kiddos to school. So it's we saw this as a definite bonus. And if those out there who are concerned about where did we find those dollars, it was through the TIF money that we received. There was one time that, again, we decided to use those monies in a strategic way.
Follow up for you, if I may. Can you, I guess, give some specifics, maybe, I don't know if itemized is the right word, but to explain what that looks like in supporting the attendance campaign, like what those actual dollars look like in helping support kids get to school?
So right now, through the partnership with the DTA, students are able to ride the DTA buses for free or at no cost to them. They simply have to present their IDs, and the benefit is students now have the ability to stay after school or come to school early, which helps them, improve their attendance by attending school. It also provides a little relief, we believe, on our transportation department, who, again, because of illnesses and other challenges with staffing, this hopefully provides a little relief valve to the overall transportation system as well.
Member Banks?
Sure, thank you. I ran into a professional from Denfeld this past Saturday, and I was told by this person that it's working exceptionally. So,
Thank you.
great benefit.
Yeah, I think, and there's just kind of, in what you said too, I would just echo that. There are a lot of students who are going to depend on this for getting to work. There's more students than we would like who are helping support their family. And that's amazing, but it's great that they can have this transportation opportunity. I know there's a lot of students at our ALC who will probably take advantage of this as well. And I would just say on a personal note, my husband was out of town, I think it was last week or the week before, and I had to figure out how to get my son to a meeting downtown, and he took the city bus with his bus pass, and it was awesome. So I would just encourage our families to take a look at the DTA as a great, safe way to transport your students. It's also environmentally friendly and promotes independence, so.
And my last comment to this as well, which we have not highlighted enough, is the resources only allow us to do this for another year and a half. So with this year and a half of fund usage, we will be actively looking for partners that could help fund these programs after the year and a half. So we only have the resources for about a year and a half. And if we could partner with someone in the community, a great company or organization that would love to continue this after a year and a half, please contact us. We would love to partner with you.
And these funds, I mean, we wouldn't have really been able to use them for many, for like salaries and things like
No.
that, just clarifying.
That's right,
For the
and the
public.
best choice is for our kids,
Yeah.
to use it for our kids.
Yeah, perfect, thank you. All right, great discussion. We will move on to our fundraiser. There's one fundraiser reported for East High School track and field. And then the next, we'll move on to our bids, RFPs, and quotes. We have two bids. We have number 1337 on page 22. That was for, let's see, the general construction at Lowell Elementary School. And so you can kind of see on the next page some more information about that bid. And then there was also bid number 13